Hey guys, it's me, Steven, again, and I know we haven't talked in a while. As you know, I'm currently working on a Batman animated series right now, and so far, a lot of you have been waiting for the next update, and I am here to provide it. Not only am I providing the update, I will also be telling you the evolution of this series, because I've been working on it for a long time. Here you go, guys. We're gonna start off with all the teaser artwork that I've made. So to start off, here we have to start off we have this picture of Batman looking at the city skyline with the two police blimps in the back, and I also drew some buildings and a gargoyle he's standing on. I decided to put him in the shadows because it gives off a real Dracula vibe. Yeah, this series was mainly inspired by Batman Beyond, the Lego Batman movie, Absolute Batman, and Batman Caped Crusader, which, if you didn't know, the series has gotten a few updates after I saw that video. After I saw it. So, there's our first drawing. The next is one of Bruce and Barbara in the cafeteria. If you were wondering on why Bruce is blushing right here, is because the series will also focus on Bruce and Barbara as they have, a blossoming romance going on as a sort of side plot. Yeah. That's my design for Barbara. I decided to give her, freckles because I thought that it would look good. And if there are any viewers of the YouTuber Sirenny Angel, shout out to her, her art style is what inspired this new change. In fact, I'm even hoping when the series enters production, I'm planning on making her the animator of the show. That is, if I get the money. If I get enough money to pay her. Now, the next one is outside of Gotham City Bank. And as you can see, there's a guy wearing green with a TNT charge fuse outside the bank with these TNTs. As you can tell, these TNTs are green and purple and covered in question marks. Which is ironic because our next scene to see is one of the Riddler. After seeing Batman Caped Crusader Season 2, I decided to update my version of the Riddler, because I've, seen a whole lot of different variations, which I am making my own variations of these, villains and heroes. This is my own little universe passion project that I'm working on. So get a nice good look. Yeah, in this universe, he's kind of a combination of the Caped Crusader Riddler and the normal Riddler. Next here we have a picture of Bruce looking up at this picture of him and his parents when they were alive. There's present-day Bruce, there's also a picture of him as a baby with his grandfather, and then there's there's normal Bruce, not modern-day Bruce. Right next to him, we see this statue of a knight, right here that I drew. The next one gives us an actual look at Bruce's suit, and as you can tell, instead of going for the normal colors, I decided to go with red, brown, and orange, because it's a slight bit of a different deviation from the normal Batman. And as you look in the back, that right there is a Lazarus Pharmaceuticals building, which is another driveway into my final, not my final teaser, but the final teaser on big paper that I'm talking about. The final I'll just say it. I'm adding Raj Al Ghul into my series. Now, I know before people, yell at me in the comments, it's pronounced Erase. No, it's pronounced Raz. It really matters on who is making it and who decides to make it a different pronunciation. I'm personally doing Raj because I feel like Raj carries a whole lot more authority, like Raj Al Ghul. See that? And right next to him is the Peacemaker, and I decided to take an inspiration from the Absolute Universe, to where these guys work for Raj, and there are multiple of them. So far, that is Wave 1. Now we are going to be moving on to Wave 2 of the characters. Hold on, if I can find them. Oh my gosh. And so the next one, this one is on small, normal paper. This is a video TV screen of Jack Napier. If you guys know who that is referring to, yes, this guy is him. What I mean by him as in the Joker. Anyways, here we have a Caped Crusader-esque drawing of him as he's sitting in a phone booth talking to Batman over the phone. Like I said, this was majorly inspired by Caped Crusader. Alright. And our next drawing is one of Joker in a laboratory with all these cages, talking to Hugo Strange. A lot of people know who Hugo Strange is. He's one of Batman's most earliest villains before he even existed, but in this universe, he actually works for J-Man himself. So, this is currently not all of the drawings. I also have a few more. This right here is a picture of every single villain to expect. Yeah. And this one is how the Joker virus really works. Alright. So, what do you think? So, guys, that is currently all that I have. I will, in fact, be making more, but I'm also now going to go into a new segment of the video. This segment is the evolution of the series, because I've been working on it for a long time, and I'm going to be explaining all the character evolutions. So right here we have, like, Mr. Freeze. So to give some backstory about my project, it originally started off as a project called Bat Dad, based on this series I saw on YouTube about a middle-aged dad in a Batman costume. I really liked it, so I decided to make a version of Batman based on that. It was originally meant to be a black and white noir-themed series, but I eventually rebranded it as Gotham High, but eventually afterward, I then went under a third rebranding, and this one is the current one, where it's called Batman Under the Mask, where here we have the design and evolution of Mr. Freeze. So far, I think that the current design is one I'm happy with. Next is the Joker. As you can tell, he was always intended to be, like, similar to the comic book accurate design, all the way from when I started the series, when it was Bat Dad, and that carried on into his current design, where I gave him the purple trench coat, the hat, the green hair, and the orange scarf. I'm also, my variant of the Joker is going to be a slight bit different. I'm trying to take inspiration from all the cool different variants of him in order to make my variant of him stand out and be all cool. Anyway, we're moving on. Next, we have Solomon Grundy. Or Solomon Grundy. So, Grundy was in fact always meant to be in the series. I just didn't know how to use him in a way. It was really hard in order to, like, figure out on what I was gonna do with him, but I came up with it. I came up with a good idea for him, which you'll see. Next, we have Bane. Now, Bane was very different. He was originally inspired by how he appeared in, The Dark Knight Rises. Sorry for the long pause. And that's kind of that stays with how he looks currently. Sorry if his head looks like that, I ran out of space to draw it. But his voice was also inspired by how he sounds in The Dark Knight Rises, you know, where it goes, "Oh, Master Wayne." That was probably a terrible anyway. Anyways, we're moving on. Next is Hush. Yeah, I decided to also include Hush because he's an interesting villain. This series was also another one of the main inspirations is a Batman analog horror series called the Arkham Tapes. Please go watch those if you are interested, and they were pretty much the reason on why I'm including Hush into the series. Shout out to Batfeed for making the series. It's really great, and I hope you can still continue what you're doing, bro. Next, we have the Riddler. I kind of also changed him up a bit from his current design. He originally wore the classic bodysuit, and he had a small mustache, but then I redesigned him with a question mark shaped necktie and a green coat. I mean, obviously. And just like from Caped Crusader, I took inspiration from that show, giving him the purple glasses. Then we come up to the Mad Monk. The Mad Monk always was meant to be in the series, it's just he was originally a very different character, but then I changed him up a bit, and I'm pretty happy with how he is now. Our second to last evolutionary character to show off is Firefly. He initially wore a more bug-like outfit, and then he eventually changed to this more gray mechanical outfit and if you're wondering what are those things on the chest of his suit, those are actually lights, like headlights or something. The last one to show off is Penguin. Now, he was originally very comic book accurate, but then I decided to make him cool and different. Yeah, as you can tell, I added a mustache, I gave him gloves, and that classic cigarette he's always smoking, and I also included his, classic umbrella. Now we're gonna be moving on into the final segment of my series, of the video, guys. And that is explaining all of the villains that are to be seen. Now, you already saw a few, but there are also some to be included. I'm gonna start off by telling about the Scarecrow. Now, Scarecrow in this series was kind of inspired by, Pennywise from the It series. Because, they both focus around, fear and all of that stuff. I'm also gonna be doing a variant of Killer Croc, but I'm gonna give him more, crocodilian features. I'm gonna give this guy a full-on normal, crocodile head, and a tail. Sorry for the long pause, I haven't really written anything down, I'm just sort of winging this, The next is a bit of an obscure one, and he's called King Tut. King Tut is, this, librarian who now thinks that he is the reincarnation of King Tut. But for mine, he's gonna be a slight bit different. The next one is Calendar Man. Now, I know that Calendar Man has appeared in the normal Batman series, but I'm gonna be going something which is both, how he is now and how he did when he first appeared in Detective Comics. Then we have another one, Maxi Zeus. He's another guy who thinks that he's a god of some kind. This time he thinks that he's the Greek god Zeus. Next we have Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy was chosen because after I didn't have plans to include her that much, but then when I saw Absolute Batman, I decided to include her a bit more. Then we move on to some obscure territory, because the next one is is a Batman villain who some people may know, but some people may not know. It's a guy, his name is Deacon Blackfire. He's like this sort of like cult leader in the series, in Batman, normally. Next is Professor Pig. If you don't know who Professor Pig is, he's like this this surgeon guy who turns people into these creatures called Dolatrons. He's a very horrific character, which is why he was chosen. The next character is Man-Bat, and I decided to include him because I think he would fit the universe very well that I'm working on. Now, obviously, because I showed you the Joker, I will also be involving Harley Quinn, but in this universe, she is his daughter instead of his girlfriend, which is a very different interpretation of the character. Partially inspired by the canceled Batman Unleashed by Tim Burton, that would have shown Harley working together with Scarecrow. Yeah. That's where I got it from. It was also inspired partially after Absolute Batman issue came out. Now, the other characters I'm including are characters from Caped Crusader. Nocturna is another one. She's like this vampire girl. Onomatopoeia, a former Green Arrow villain who was taken by Batman. Spectre, who appeared in the second season, in episode 5, I think. I wasn't really expecting him, but after I saw him in the show, I had to include him. The next is... Hold on, give me a second, I need to find something. The next is... Hold on, I'm having trouble remembering. Catwoman is gonna be another one to be included in the series. She will also be kinda like her normal counterpart, but with a different origin story. The next is another obscure one. His name is Condiment King. A lot of people might wonder why am I choosing him for the series, and I'm planning on doing him because I think that he's genuinely a cool guy to include. The next is I already showed you. The next character to include is Clayface. Clayface is also going to be a character in the series. I'm decided to... Now, for which Clayface I'm going to be adapting, I've decided to go with the very first one, aka Basil Carlo, but combine him with, like, the normal way Clayface is depicted today. The next character on the list is Roxy Rocket, which I decided to use based off of her appearance in Caped Crusader. Roxy is, in fact, a very cool character, in my opinion, and that's why I chose to include her in my series. The next is another normal one people know, is, Two-Face, aka Bruce's best friend Harvey Dent in the series. I will be also doing a different variant of him, because in this universe, Harvey is British, kind of. He's got a British accent, right? The next character is Black Mask, who is one of Gotham's mob bosses in the series, and he will also be a slight bit of an impact in the series. Another character inspired from his appearance in Caped Crusader is Gentleman Ghost. As you know, or if people who don't know, he was a highway robber in, like, the old days during the time of the Pilgrims, and then when he died, he eventually came back to Gotham a long time later. The next is Deathstroke, aka Slade Wilson. Now, he was mainly inspired from his appearance in Absolute Batman, where he led the Robins, but in this case, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny that the Robins will appear at all, but I'm not gonna be doing what the Absolute Universe did. I'm gonna be doing something entirely, new and unique. The next is Deadshot. As you know, I had to include him. He was mostly popular from, his appearance in the Suicide Squad, and the various other Batman projects that have him. The next is another obscure one, and that is Rose and Thorn. I watched Caped Crusader, and when they showed up, I decided to include them automatically, because, they seemed really interesting to me. The next is the Court of Owls, another one of Gotham's cults, but this time they're themed around owls. The next is Egghead. As you know, Egghead was this former university lecturer turned into a villain based around eggs. And the last one to discuss in my series is Mad Hatter. As you know, Mad Hatter was in fact a guy entirely based on the character from Alice in Wonderland, and I decided to take him in a different route based on that idea. Now, this is where I'm going to conclude the video oh, sorry guys, I forgot one last one. The actual final villain, sorry for misleading you a bit, the actual final villains are the Terrible Trio. Based on their appearances in Batman Caped Crusader, I decided to include them as well. Now, this is where I'm going to conclude. Now, I would also like to ask certain people on the internet, which I am inspired by, such as, I'd also like to give a shout-out for Serum Lake for his analysis on different Batman characters. Hopefully he can talk about this video right now. But anyways, bye guys, have a nice rest of your morning, day, or night whenever you're watching this. Bye-bye.